Hi there, Jeff again. And this is part 2 of a playthrough of the prototype of the Ziggurat. So where we left off last time, we had just outwitted a patrol by sneaking through this secret door while we've been sort of skirting around in the jungle looking for an appropriate entrance into the Ziggurat to locate the prison cells and hopefully rescue the heir to the throne in time before they're sacrificed. So where we left off, we'd actually just finished with a horrible looking giant serpent, an undead giant serpent, which we discovered here in the temple ruins. But we also discovered that there was a kind of, an ancient burial ground, a pet cemetery, if you like, so that we can look to resurrect or raise from the dead any specific beasts, so not humans but beasts. And so we're going to try and do this with the giant serpent. So Vulcan, he's not unhappy with the concept of roaming around with a pet giant serpent, even if that serpent were to be undead. So let's have a look at what we need to do in order to raise our giant serpent from the dead. So in this particular instance, the pet cemetery, as it were, requires us to make a kind of lore progress check during the rest phase. So we've already completed an entire round or an entire turn for the player. And so now we're back to the movement phase. What I'm going to do is simply move 0, so not move anywhere. But this still gives us the option to scout and discover a new location. And so let's say we do a little bit of scouting around. We've found the vats. So notice the tile is turned grey, which means we're now sort of entering the Ziggurat, the kind of upper halls of this ancient city. So let's have a look at placing this before we go any further. I think I might connect that like so. Might be nice and easy. And then we put a unexplored token on there so we know that it's unexplored. Now we're not going to take this opportunity to explore this particular tile just yet. We're going to rest at our temple ruins, camp if you like, and use this opportunity to try and raise our pet giant serpent from the dead. So when you camp, you really just remain in the same tile, but you get a +1 bonus to any actions that you might perform during that camping phase, which is good because we need to use lore. Vulcan isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, and he's more of a kind of hammer things to death type of guy. So anyway, let's try that. First thing we need to do is make sure that we process the threat by putting a token on here to say that additional time has passed as we're resting. And then we need to sort of have a look at the other options that we've got. I might just quickly run through those. I'm keen to get on to the resurrection part, but we can heal and we can perform other sort of rest actions and any character powers that we might have. So the healing, let's do that first of all. It's a simple die roll for healing. You've got to check against your preferred stat. So in our case, strength. So we get 1 + 2. That's a miss, unfortunately. So both of those are above the target die. It's a miss. But whenever you miss, you always get a little bit of grit. So we'll add that there. We don't have any other rest actions that we would like to perform at this stage. We could unearth or rummage around inside of our backpack and look for an alternative series of items. I think I won't do that at this stage. I'll just hold on to these. We could look at doing some kind of ritual to bind this new found forbidden knowledge. Remember from the last time that we picked up this elemental that we could bind to our weapon. But we don't have enough memories to do that. So when you want to bind or enchant your weapon, you need to have a kind of recent lived experience that enables you to do that. So we might be able to do that a little bit later on in the adventure. And I guess that kind of leads us straight to the pet cemetery at rest. So it says here, if we're going to do this, then time's going to pass, so additional peril will end up on the peril track. But that's okay, we're happy to make that sacrifice. So let's see if we can get law 5. We get +1 for our camping. So we get a 4 +1, that's a 5. And we count the highest die, challenge die, that sits underneath that target. So we get 4. So 4's not quite 5, we can keep going. So we haven't missed yet. We'll do that again. Oh, okay. So we've got a 5 +1 is 6. And now 2, so 4 + 2, 6. So we obviously have passed that threshold for law 5, and we are successful. So the first thing we need to do is make sure we record that time has passed. And now we can look to resurrect our creature. Now, we can resurrect this, but there's a cost. And we have to pay 1 maximum HP. So this is a kind of separate tracker that we have here that tracks what the maximum level of your hit points can be throughout the adventure. And we have to reduce that by 1 for every 3 hit points that we'd like to raise for this particular creature. So it's got a hit points of 8. So we could raise it all the way to 8. And that would have cost us 3 max HP. But what I think I'll do is just take 2 max hit points, put him into our party, and I'm going to attach this. This is a memory, so we can still use it as a memory, but I want to put it there just to remind me that this is in fact an undead creature. And he's been sort of resurrected to sit within our party. Now, he's only got 6 hit points, so I'll put a little marker there to remember that he's only got 6 hit points. And the other thing about the undead is you can't really heal them. You need a special kind of undead healing. We don't have that. So normal healing can't be used to heal the undead. They just sort of gradually go down with time. Now, another thing that's important about our snake is that he has these options for equip. You notice under the power it says equip 2 and equip 3. So we could provide him with a bit more strength, if you like. It doesn't make all that much sense with respect to, a serpent who's undead, but let's just run with it for the moment. The equipment, we're going to take 2. I think I'll take 2. Could take 3, but I want to keep 1 in reserve. I'm going to place that equipment underneath our companion, and that means he'll be able to use any power that's equipped 2 or lower. So he'll be able to do constriction on somebody when the time comes. All right, so far so good. Now that's the end of our rest phase. What we need to do next is process the peril track. So there's 3 peril here. We're looking for 5. So no change there so far. And we choose a peril card, Cave Dweller. So Cave Dweller. There's a wounded Cave Dweller here. It's just finished slaying a cultist patrol. Spawn caves humanoid at half health. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so inside the Ziggurat, there are various kind of levels. There's the outside biome, if you like, which is the sort of jungle where we've been. There's the upper floors of the Ziggurat, and there's also the kind of subterranean floors where another faction exists. So in the caves, there's a whole variety of other little denizens that kind of are regulars within the lower regions of the Ziggurat. So we need to spawn caves humanoid. So that's this little fellow. And it says he's a mycelium seer, a fungi mystic attuned to the immortal hive mind. Interesting. Okay, so he's spawned at half health. He's been wounded by some cultists, and he's, not particularly happy, but we have this opportunity to potentially make him a friend of ours. So it says here, they look suspiciously at you, unsure if you are friend or foe. So if we have a cultist in our group who's just witnessed this murder, we don't, but if we did, then we'd have to immediately attack. In this particular instance, we can parley with the mycelium seer, even though he doesn't have a parley option, if we can offer him some kind of vitals, which means essentially something that might heal that character. So if we offer him some sort of healing, then we might be able to trade with him. Otherwise we're going to have to do battle with this poor cave dweller. All right, well, I've got one item left of unrevealed equipment. I'm going to rummage around in my backpack and see what this is. So, a clockwork gizmo. Well, that's shiny and clockwork. That's not particularly useful. It turns out I don't have any vitals that might be able to offer this particular guy. So we're going to have to enter the fray. So as soon as we do that, we need to again equip this particular denizen, see how powerful he's going to be. If you remember the loot level for this level of threats, at the moment we're still pretty high up in the dungeon. We haven't allowed time to progress. We've been very careful about making sure time hasn't progressed too quickly. And so he's still relatively weak, and we only draw 2 loot cards and match them to the icon. So there's only one matching icon there. Discard the other. Now, because he is a leader, if you like, he's a guarded denizen, he automatically gains a loot card, regardless of what the icon is. He gets what we say is bolstered in this particular instance, and we attach that loot. So have a look at this. He's got 1 loot attached. Now, we've always been looking in this bottom right-hand corner at the loot icon. You can see the little pentagram there. But next to that pentagram is also a number, and that's that particular denizen's loot limit. Now, if a denizen ever exceeds the loot limit, then it means simply that he is not alone, that he's come with some friends. And you can see again that his loot limit is a 1. And we look at this little area here, the compeer. A compeer is a kind of old-fashioned term for a companion or a ally, and it says jungle beast. So he will come along with a jungle beast ally. He's kind of like I guess he's like a fungal mystic, the mycelium seer. So if we have a look at our jungle deck and we're looking for a keyword of beast, there happens to be a beast right on the top. Perfect, that's nice. Just take that, pop that back in place. And we have a black panther. Oh God, okay, it's an interesting combo. So we've got the mycelium seer and a black panther, and they're not too happy. They're entering the fray. So let's see where we're at. First thing we need to do is determine what the initiative is, and we still have the upper hand, so we're quite happy at this particular point in time, and we'll roll for an attack. Bear in mind, we have our giant serpent to help us along these days. All right, so our attack is a 6, +2 for muscle. So that is a strong hit. So we get to take the top scoring die and apply that to one of the denizens. Now, importantly, this guy is guarded. He's got this little guarded icon, which means unless we have a special ability like a spell or a ranged attack of some kind, we can't actually engage with this particular denizen until we've defeated his minions. So we don't really have any choice. We have to apply this damage, the 5 damage, to the Black Panther. Now he has no armor. He's got 6 hit points, so he's got 1 hit point left, which was pretty good. That was a nice hit. So the other thing we might want to do is have the snake kind of go straight into action and bite. Do we want him to bite the Black Panther? If we have him bite the Black Panther, then it's kind of a waste. He's pretty powerful. But if we don't have him take out the Black Panther, then we're going to be definitely attacked by that. Okay, we'll use the snake. So the giant serpent goes into attack. Now, he's got equipment too, so he can do entangle and blight and 5 points of damage. We don't have to really worry about those attributes because he will kill this particular guy outright. The snake takes down the Black Panther, and all we have left to contend with now is the Mycelium Seer. So we will defend, and that is +1 for defense because we're shadow. That's a 6, so he is fully defended, which is quite nice. He's going to do a 3. Plus he has this option, or this power that he's going to do called Fungal Explosion, which is a little bit problematic for us, unfortunately. He's going to do -1 attack. His attack is normally 3, so he's going to do 2 damage and blight across the entire party. So we can defend one of these attacks. Well, we've got actually 2 here. We can defend both attacks. So let's assume we're defending 1 for Vulcan and 1 for our snake. And that means the only thing that gets through is the blight. So we have 1 blight on Vulcan. That's actually very lucky. We have been quite successful in terms of attack and defense dice rolls so far in this particular adventure. All right, so that's the end of round 1. We're going into round 2. I'll just put that there to mark that for us. There aren't, so there are some, the last thing we need to do at the end of a round is check to see if there are any unmolested triggers. So in this particular case, the seer has an unmolested. It says Sporogenesis, refresh an ally. Unfortunately, his ally is no more. He's perished, and so that's not going to help him a great deal. And we go into the next round. We attack first. Again, another hit, strong hit, 6, 4 and 3. He's got armor of 1, but it's not enough. We're still going to do 3 points of damage, and he perishes. So we've had pretty good luck with all of this of late. We have been able to deal with these denizens without much trouble. So these go into our memories. So we've got 3 memories now, and we get to loot. So remembering that we can only hold 3 items for our character, so we're going to just leave those as equipment for now and keep the caged cricket, the clockwork gizmo, and the bottled tempest to use later on. And that's the end of the peril phase. Okay, so the next round we can move. We don't really want to move anywhere, but one of the options we have, remember, is to scout. So we will try and add another room to here. Aha! Look, that's the monastic cells. That's what we've been looking for. And we can add that into the dungeon. We'll do that here, like so. Place an unexplored token. So interestingly enough, once a location that maps to the next act in the adventure is revealed, you can no longer pull out any more map tiles until you have explored that particular region. So we could, if we wanted to, move into the vats and see what on earth's going on in there, or we can progress directly to the monastic cells, which I think we're going to do because the threat's still very low. We're still sort of hidden in amongst the cultists. And so far, we've been quite sneaky, and our luck has sort of held out. And we're doing quite well with respect to how far we've got without encountering too much trouble. So we're going to proceed directly into the monastic cells. Now, the thing that's worth noting is that our giant serpent is exhausted. Now, when you exhaust a companion, they only ever recover at the beginning of the rest phase if you choose to rest. And so this happened in the very end of the peril phase, and so he'll be exhausted for the entirety of this turn unless we choose to refresh him somehow with one of our abilities. So anyway, let's do that. We're going to explore into the monastic cells, place that over there, and this time, rather than going into the encounter deck, we actually progress the quest deck. And it says, free the prisoners. I quickly read that. What was once an ancient monk's cloister, leading on to humble living quarters, has been converted into a prison for those awaiting Thoth's judgment. You free the prisoners, but the princess is not here. Time is running out before she will be sacrificed. You fear you may be too late. Okay, so again, on the other side of the deck, we have a whole variety of different options. We just follow those instructions and see how we go. So the very first thing it says, recruit prisoners. You may attempt to convince a prisoner to join your quest. Do we want to do that? I think we do. So we get to roll presence. Time passes as we're kind of debating with these particular prisoners, but let's do that. So time passes, pop that onto there, and roll presence. Ooh. So we haven't got any bonuses for presence. That's a 4. That sort of fails. We've got 1 hit only. So that's what's considered a weak hit. And it says on a weak hit, you fail, but you may try again. On a miss, no one is willing to join you. Okay, so I think we're going to try again because we're probably not going to be able to prevent this from moving forward to the next level. So let's just put another thing on here. Time passes and attempt to recruit a prisoner. Oh, very good. A strong hit. So we are convincing enough to gain a companion. So in this case, it says draw a companion card and add it to your party. Now, there's a special faction deck called Companions, and the Companions are essentially just a dedicated deck that you don't fight these guys. They're just interesting people that you meet that might decide to join your party. So I'll just take one straight off the top and see who we have met. Oh, so it's a disillusioned holy man, a priest who we've met. He's not got very good attack, but he can heal if we put some equipment with him. So if we give him 2 equipment, then he can remove disease, and 1 equipment, and he can heal in the middle of battle. I think we'll do that straight away. So we're going to add him to the party. I'm just going to put the true name over here, just as a reminder that we have that, and add him to the party and give him one of these equipment cards so that he has the ability to heal. So again, from the general equipment supply, we're kind of giving him, I don't know, some bandages and other ointments and the like that he can use to heal in the middle of battle or at rest. All right, so far so good. That was good. Next, it says, the ritual must be stopped. You are too late. They have taken the Princess of Arn to be sacrificed. Locate the altar, search for the altar, and interrupt the diabolic ritual. So we're looking for a place called the Stone Plinth, map tile 37. Right, so that's the end of our exploration phase. And now we go to the rest phase if we want to. So this is already past 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it doesn't really matter how much additional time we place on this. It's definitely going to escalate in the peril phase of this particular turn. So I will take the opportunity to rest, and that we simply add another token here. There's nothing else to process, and we'll try and do some healing. The first thing that happens is we recover our character. Remember, he's undead. I'll put this here. And we also try some healing. You get +2, so that's a weak hit. We get 3 healing. We can't heal the snake because he's undead, but we can heal ourselves. We've got 2 little spots here to heal, but we can now only go up to a maximum of 13 because our max hit points has now been reduced to 13. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. Things are going okay. So the next thing I want to do during this rest phase is I would like to try and bind this particular elemental, who is going to, if you remember, give us a kind of bonus to our armor. I'll just quickly show you that. Bonus damage versus brittle. We've already got that with our big hammer, but stone skin is what I'm after, this +1 to armor, because we don't currently have any armor. So what we're going to do is actually have a look at the sort of summoning and binding of one of these little characters. All right, so let's quickly grab this player aid. I'll give you a quick gander at the rules for this. So when we're summoning and binding, we're looking at the type of ability that we want. So you can only install a sort of type 1 ability and then you can upgrade that to type 2. To get type 1, we need to do a lore check of 3 and we need 2 matching memories. So we need memories that sort of match elemental. We don't actually have any elemental memories, but you can do the equivalent of 2 memories is the equivalent of 1 matched memory. So 2 unmatched memories equivalent of 1 matched memory. So we've got 4. That's enough to provide all of the memories that we need. So we put that up as our sort of risk and we roll the dice. We need lore 3. Now the problem with us is we really don't have any bonuses here. It's a straight roll and that's not a great roll, unfortunately. So we get a 2. That is a weak hit. So the 1 there is still pretty good. That gives us 1. We need 3. Roll again. That's 3 and 7. So, okay. We get 3, so we're at 4. All right, so we are successful in binding our earth elemental to our weapon. And all we do to represent that is just tuck it under that particular weapon like so. Now, unfortunately, whenever you bind something, you need to reduce your maximum HP by 1 and we will lose these memories as a resource. So our maximum HP is currently 13, so we're going to have to bump everything down and now our max HP is 12. But I think the trade-off is worth it. So I'm just going to banish these encounters so we don't see them again. The whole point of banishing encounters is it kind of recycles the encounter deck. So every time you play the game, you see, a completely different encounter. You'd have to play it several times before you are forced to kind of shuffle back the encounters into the encounter deck. So there's actually quite a few playthroughs, even of exactly the same quest, that you're likely to do before you ever see a kind of repeating piece of content. All right, so far, so good. We have finished our rest phase. It's been pretty successful. Now we need to process the threat level. So here we know this has gone above 5. So we're escalating the threat. Actually, sorry, we don't escalate the threat just yet. We've got to draw a peril card before we do that. So let's have a look at the peril card because things could get worse. And they just have. All right, we'll put that there. Okay, so on the peril deck, remember we met earlier in our last session a bunch of clockwork merchants who told us about these muscle mechanics who basically take the supplicants in the cult and choose the ones that have the best musculature and turn them into these sort of horrible golems. In fact, he has a little line here that says, "Let me make you stronger." So we could parlay with this particular fellow. It says parlay trade companion. So if we could give him one of our companions, including the giant serpent, and he would be quite happy, potentially, to take that particular companion and let us go on our way. Now, I don't think we want to do that, but because, interestingly enough, we reflect to our betters. So we're being very lucky in that we haven't had the threat escalate yet, and so everybody still thinks that we're a cultist. So we're meeting this fellow, and he has no idea that we are, you know, on the side of good, assuming they're the bad guys. And so what I'm going to do is simply try and do this genuflect, blessed be Thoth's bounty, and try and convince him that we are friends and that he should go on his particular way. So we need to make a presence 3 check. And that's not going to cut it. That's a 2, and so we're just missing out because that 2 there has to be a 3. So we do have grit that sits at 3. So I'm going to burn grit, make that a 3. And so we get just a 2. We need 3 in order to successfully convince him. So we need to make one more roll. And if we're lucky enough, we might be able to... Yes, okay. So we've got 1 that sits underneath that. So, okay, we genuflect and say, oh, yes, blessed be Thoth's bounty. Oh, yes, that's very good. Fine. Oh, well, okay. If you see anybody, let me know, because I'm on the hunt for golems. All right, no problem. The end of the peril phase. Now we need to process the threat escalation. So this is very lucky we met him just before this is happening. So we throw all of these tokens out and we go to the next threat level. Rumour of imposters. You hear rumour of imposters masquerading as pilgrims, but your disguise still appears to be holding up under scrutiny. So it says, on reveal, add 1 peril token if you are wearing light armour, or 3 peril tokens if you're wearing heavy armour. So obviously, if you've got bulky equipment, your disguise isn't as good as it could be. But we're pretty set. We've got no armour at all, except for our U-Butte Earth Elemental now that's sort of sitting with us. We've lost this ability to genuflect and avoid combat, but we still have a +1 mod for any peaceful action with cultists. The loot level has increased, and so everything is slightly more dangerous in the dungeon, and our threat escalation is, again, we need 5 peril before it goes to the next threat level. Okay, so that's the end of the turn, and we need to make sure that we haven't exceeded any of our maximums. So you can actually go beyond your maximum inventory levels during a turn. It's only at the very end of a turn do you have to sort of drop down. So we've got a maximum of 5 equipment, we've only got 1, a maximum of 3 items, we're at 3, and we've also got a maximum of only 2 companions, and so we're at 2 companions, so that's perfect. Everything is in order, and we're doing a-okay. All right, next, we're going to move. So I'm going to stay where we are here in the monastic cells, because we've got the, well, do we want to go to the vats? I don't know. I think we'll stay where we are and explore. All right, the necropolis. The necropolis. That doesn't sound too good. But there is a secret door there. I guess if we use that secret door, there's not really much benefit for using that secret door at this particular point in time. No matter. And we'll go through into the necropolis. All right, so what have we got in the necropolis? Let's have a look. 32. Okay. Necropolis says, navigating the crumbling necropolis, you spy a giant flagstone dislodged from its place. With torch in hand, you peer into the inky blackness to catch a glimmer of treasure guarded by the slow-moving dead. All right, so it's a peril. So you'll notice we have this peril option. And it says, do you move the flagstone and seal the tomb, or discard one equipment and rappel down into the crypt to take a look? It's tempting. Only because I like the idea of just rappelling down into the dark crypt. It doesn't sound like a very sensible move. We won't, because we've been sneaking along so far and we've done quite well to date. We've got a lot of equipment. We're not sort of starved for items. I think we're going to move the flagstone. So it says, seal the tomb. You struggle with the heavy flagstone, dragging it over the crack to seal in the horrors below. Check progress, muscle 5. Okay, so any progress check of 5 is quite a difficult check, but we've got muscle +2. That's our highest stat. So hopefully we're in good nick. That's a 3 + 2 is the equivalent of a 5. So we've got 2 progress. That's a 5. Whoop. That's the equivalent of 4. One more roll. Can we do it? No! Oh yes, hold on. That's 2 + 2 is a 4. And so we pass because we're particularly strong. All right, good. On a fail only, the unliving force their way into the room. So we're good. We managed to seal the tomb and move this encounter to memories. All right, so that's the end of our turn. We don't need to heal. We're at maximum everything. We haven't got anything to do, so we're going to press on. We press on. We don't have to put any peril tokens here because time doesn't pass. And we simply have a look at the peril card. Bang the drum. A band of exultant and joyous pilgrims soar on a potent substance. Amidst their revelry, your troop finds respite, taking advantage of the boisterous celebration. Okay, so we can spawn some cultists. These are the kind of celebrating cultists that we find. They're led by an erudite apostle. Now again, we're in this tricky situation where we're still friends with the cultists, we're still in disguise, so ideally we want to try and parlay with this particular fellow. So we can trade with him, or we can even try and recruit him. If he wants to trade, so let's quickly show you that. If we want to trade, he requires a curio. He's interested in curiosities. Or if we want to recruit him, we need a potion. Okay, this world-weary worshipper. What have we got? So we have got the caged cricket. He might be interested in the old caged cricket. Could this be the time we use the caged cricket? I think it might be. I know he's friendly and everything, and he's been on this journey. He has been on this journey for a long time. Maybe we should take the caged cricket all the way to the end. Let's do that. I'm going to hold on to the cricket. I'm going to have a look at our equipment and see if there's anything in here that the erudite apostle may be interested in. So it's a vital jar salve. No, he's not particularly interested in that. Well, I think we might... Yeah, I think we might have to get rid of the cricket. I'm sorry, little cricket. Gonna have to find a new home. At least he's not gonna eat you. He'll take good care of you, this erudite apostle. Okay, so we put him up there. We're risking the cricket, and we need to get at least a weak hit. We do. So that 4 is above the 2, and so we get a weak hit. We lose the cricket. He finds a new home, and in return, we get the tonic of the granite wall. That's like a kind of armor potion. So we've got a heal, armor potion, gizmo, and Sifu's bottled tempest. All right, so we don't have to fight the individual. Pop him away, the cultist, and we'll continue on. It says remove any noise environments. So we don't have any environments at the moment in our peril track. And it says it's happy days while all these lunatics are kind of banging the drum and dancing around, singing, I don't know, Hare Krishna. We're going to discover a bit of shiny loot. So when you discover loot from the loot deck, It's different from drawing loot. It's always, a discovery means that you have to actually look for a specific loot item. And you do that by just discarding cards until you find something that matches the keyword that you're after. So here we get shiny, a flame-touched cask. So that's a new loot item. They all get discarded. And that goes into our item list. All right, so far so good. And last but not least, because of all the pandemonium going on, there's people jumping and dancing and carrying on, the Pilgrim Pandemonium. We can add 3 peril tokens to any denizens on the peril track and kind of lose them in the throng. There are no denizens in pursuit, and so we don't get to take advantage of that at this particular point in time. All right, so that's the end of our turn, and we have to, unfortunately, discard down to our maximums. We've got a maximum here of 3 items that we're allowed to have at any one time. So I'm going to... Tough decision. I can heal already. I've got the priest, he can heal. I'm going to get rid of the salve of regenerative respite. And we've already got 2 armor options, so I'm going to get rid of the flame-touched cask. Discard those and just leave those 3 little items that we now have in place and go through to the next turn. Okay, so for movement, we could move into the vats. I'm going to just ignore the vats and stay where we are and keep exploring. So, the Eldritch Halls. All right, let's just put that here and move into the Eldritch Halls. What's going on in the Eldritch Halls? Alrighty. You gaze upon a spectral court from a high gallery. Countless phantoms, their translucent forms shimmering with a ghostly radiance, gather in a haunting assembly. Time stands still as you become ensnared in their spellbinding presence. It does not sound good. Days slipping away with barely heard whispers. The apparitions dance and converse, their voices a distant murmur, and you remain transfixed. Yikes. So there's a nice little picture there of these Eldritch Halls. So we're gazing upon a kind of ghost-like courtiers. All right, we're transfixed by illusion. You resist. That's us, the hero. We resist, but time passes. This does not look like it's going to bode well for us. Check progress, presence 5. No! So we're kind of spellbound here for days. So that's pretty good. We get a 4. We need 5. That's another 2. So we are successful. On success, you are free. But your companions are spellbound. Unable to divert their gaze, your companions are oblivious to their impending fate. Check presence 3 for each companion. On a fail, the companion is lost forever. All right, well, I'm going to check for the snake first. Ah! That's a really bad fail. Okay. So we gain 1 grit for that miss. And I'm going to weep. Our snake is transfixed. He refuses to leave. He's kind of in a trance, a snake trance. Unfortunately, we lose all of his equipment as well. Come on, the priest, though. The priest. The holy man. He must be able to get out of this. You're kidding. Oops, did I roll the wrong dice there? I'll roll that again. I had an extra rogue dice in there. All right, so we've got a 5, 8, and 7. That's terrible. No. So in that's really bad. The priest, who we just said hello to him, we just convinced him to leave the prison cells. He perishes just staring at this, transfixed by this ghostly court. Oh God. Well, at least he goes into our memory as a companion that once was. Well, that's been particularly bad for us, I must say. So this stays on the board as a kind of location, the Veil of Enthrallment. You can take, it says the ghostly host remains, but you are wise enough to pass through unmolested. Those in pursuit may fare less well. So there's an at-rest function that we can do here to actually trick our pursuers into falling for the same fate as our friends, the snake and the priest. Geez, we were looking so strong for a moment, and now tragedy has befallen us. All right, so we don't need to rest. We're going to press on. Just leave everybody there to die. The next thing is a peril card, and it says an eerie silence. An eerie silence settles over the Ziggurat. Okay, so this is our first environment that we have encountered. So let's do this. It says remove all other noise environments, and the eerie silence means that all non-combat shadow tests are at -1. So it's more difficult to perform sneaky maneuvers because it's so quiet. All right, so that just stays there until you have another environment that might ask for it to sort of go away. It's got the eerie silence. What's going on? Don't know. All right, so beginning of the next turn. We're going to stay where we are. I think I'll just put that over here because we may come back. And we're going to scout. All right. The Well of Souls. Okay, well that sounds pretty good. Interestingly enough, we've had a pretty kind of a dream run through the jungle. And things have turned a little bit for the worse as we've entered the Ziggurat. And it is interesting because every time you do a playthrough, the outcomes are quite varied. They're very different. All right, so let's have a look at what's in the Well of Souls, 35. Oh, okay. So the Well of Souls, this is the nice little picture we've got here. It does look a little bit foreboding. That's huge kind of tentacle thing. It says, the chamber is dominated by an immense well, its dark depths beckoning with an eerie allure. Suddenly, enormous eldritch tentacles surge forth from the abyss, their ghastly forms reaching out hungrily. Amidst the chaos, one of your companions is seized and dragged to the edge of the abyssal embrace. Well, we've already lost all of our companions, so I guess that's going to be us that's dragged to the edge of despair. From the shadow's depths spawn a Ziggurat, Eldritch, and Bolster. The hero is stunned. Okay, so let's go through that process, and it's the same as we've done before. We go to, this time, the Ziggurat faction deck, and we're looking for a keyword for tentacles. So we've got one there right on the top is tentacles. Put that there. And then, let's put that back. Flip that over, and sure enough, they're tentacles, all right. Great green tentacles burst through the earth. Okay, so we're stunned and we have entered the fray. We don't have any options for parley with the tentacles. That shouldn't be all that surprising. So we've entered round 1. We are stunned. So I have a little stun token here to remind us. And that simply means we can't do any attack in the first round except for a fighting retreat. So you can still retreat, could attempt to retreat, but let's also see how powerful this particular set of tentacles are. So the loot level is 3. So we draw 3 loot cards, 1, 2, 3, and we match the tokens. So we've got 2 pentagrams and a sun, 2 pentagrams and a sun. So we only keep the sun, incidentally, which is all good. But it also says bolster, which means we grab 1 additional loot regardless of its icon, and we attach it to see how strong it is. Now it only has a loot limit of 2, so if it had exceeded the loot limit of 2, then we'd be bringing along a friend, but in this case it's just one big lone tentacle that is reached up out of the void. Now it's equip level 2, which means in this case it's got a kind of special attack that's going to destroy armor. Sunder 1. We don't really have any armor except for our pluses here. That's an interesting conundrum I haven't come across in a playtest, is if you don't have any armor to lose and you're sundered, but then you do have bonus armor, does it affect the bonus armor? Probably not. Probably not. Anyway, so let's see how we go. We can't attack, so even though we have the initiative, we can't attack this round, so we just lose that condition, and we have to defend. So I don't know if you can see these die roll. I'll just quickly put them back in. It's a 1, 1, 5. So ordinarily that would be a miss, but we're going to burn grit. So that becomes a 3. And that means we got a defense of 1 only, which isn't great. He's going to do dissolution, which is an attack +1, so he's going to do 4 damage. Yikes! 4 damage, sunder, blight, and entangle. Woof, okay. Let's have a look at that. So blight 2. So that means we get 2 damage in the next defense phase and 1 damage in the following phase. We lose some armor, so we have -1 armor. And we're also entangled for 2 turns. Now we haven't seen entangled before. All entangled means is that we are incapable of running away effectively while we're entangled. And we also, for the first time, lose the initiative and we go against the odds. So this nice little player aid carries the status of whether we are against the odds or whether we've got the upper hand. And it also has all of the various differences between those 2 states in a nice sort of handy little rule sheet. So we're against the odds. Next round, we're going to attack last. That's not great. Okay, so that's the end of round 1. We're going to round 2 against the tentacles. And first thing we have to do is defend. We lose 2 hit points automatically because of the blight. And we've got -1 armor. And we're still entangled. So that goes down to 1. And we roll for defense. So this is our roll. We've got a weak hit for defense. So we're defending for 2 only. So he's already done that. He's doing, oh, sorry, I forgot. Look at that. He's pretty deadly, this guy. So we didn't get to hit him this round because we were stunned. So you see that very first trait there that says unmolested, refresh, self, discard 1. What that means is because he was not attacked in that round, he actually should have been exhausted. He refreshes himself and loses a loot. So he's become less valuable and he's also refreshed, which isn't great for us. And so when he attacks again, he's going to do 3. This time he's only got a 1 equipment, so he can no longer do this horrible dissolution that he did before. He has to do void burn. So he gets to do blight 1, entangle 1. So we're both at entangle 1 and blight 1, so that doesn't change. But he does do 4 points of damage. So 4 points of damage. We have a defense of 2, so that's 2 points of damage. We also have 1 armor, but we lose armor. So we're going to take 2 points of damage. 1, 2, we're down to 8. That's not great. That's not great, but this is our turn now. Now it's our turn. Let's see what he can do. we get to attack against the odds. Okay, we've got a 2 and 2 6s. This is a critical miss. Jeez Louise. Okay, so that's an attack, so we don't receive any damage from it, but because it's a critical miss, he recovers himself. And, okay, we do get at least 1 grit for the critical miss. Now we process all of our little defensive options. So the sundered, it still stays, we still lose the armor. We're still rooted, but we lose rooted. And we get 1 hit point of damage, but we lose that. So we're down to 7 hit points of damage, and we have to defend. So we got 4, 5, 8. So that's also a tragic miss. We get 4, 5 because we got +1 for shadow, but it's not enough. That has to be lower than the target die. It can't be equal to the target die. So we're going to take the full brunt of whatever it is he dishes out. Because he's refreshed, he uses his power again, Void Burn, and he's going to do 4 damage, a blight, and entangle. So we are entangled again, and we're blighted again. Where's our blight? What do I do with it? Here. Alright. Alright, no problem. We're going to take... How much damage did we say we're going to take? 4 points of damage. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4. We're down to 3 hit points. It might be time to use one of our little powers here. I really don't want to, but we haven't hit him, not once. What to do? Alright, well, that's round 3. At the end of round 3, I should say he's going to refresh. Is that round 3, or are we already at the end of round 3? So the first round we were stunned. The second round, this is the end of round 3. My God. Okay, so he refreshes again. And we're now going into the beginning of round 4. We are against the odds. Now, you can use 1 item every round. Only 1, but at any time. You don't have to wait. You can be against the odds. You can have the initiative. Doesn't matter. So we're in a pretty bad way. We're at 3 hit points only. We've only got sorry, that should be 4. 4 grit, which is not too bad. We've been rolling terribly, and he's still at full health. Yeah, let's do that. So we're going to use Sifu's Bottled Tempest. So we're going to unleash the chain lightning inside this jar. Now what that's going to do for us is it does automatically 3 hit points of damage to everything that's there. He's got no armor, so he doesn't get to save against that in any way. And he's also stunned in the same way we were stunned last time, and that means he can't attack this round. So that's all well and good. Let's get rid of that. And now we go... well, even though it's our defense, we still have to defend even though he's not going to attack. And all that means is we process these individual statuses. We're going to take 1 hit point of damage. So we're down to 2. And we get to attack. So we'll do 3 points of damage now, or all is lost. So we get 3 plus 2 is 5, which is not enough for that one, but it is enough for this one. It is 3 points of damage. We do manage to defeat him. He's got no armor, and he's down for the count. All right, well, that was a particularly damaging round for us. We do get to keep the tentacles, and we do get to keep this loot. Oh, well, if I'm honest, I'm just gonna reveal it and hope that it's something interesting. It's a glyph-bound invocation. It's something you can use. Glyph-bound invocation. It's something you can use to substitute 2 matching memories during a summoning. So that's pretty good. We could actually try and upgrade our Earth Elemental to get more armor. God knows we need it, because we're in a bit of a bad way. Okay, so that's the end of that encounter. Oh, we have to rest. All right, so we rest, and time passes. We're going to heal, we hope. So we've got grit 4. We've got a 4 there. We can choose any stat to heal, so we're going to heal with muscle, which means that we do get a good strong hit, so we get 4. So we heal for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the only other thing that we can do at rest here that is interesting is to try and upgrade our Earth Elemental. So when you're doing a Type 2 enchantment, which is the kind of highest level of enchantment, you need to have 3 matching memories. And I don't think, we still haven't encountered any elementals, so we don't have any matching memories. But remember that 2 specific memories can act as, I might just get rid of these guys, can act as a single memory. I'll put that there just as a reminder. We can use the glyph bound invocation to act as 2 memories, so that's the equivalent of 3. And so we can do a binding ceremony. We need law 5. And that's our biggest problem here, is that we need to roll well, or we're kind of in trouble. Oh my god. Everything's against us in this half. Alright, that's a miss. That is a miss. So we gain something on the git track, and we have to find out why we failed. What happened during this summoning? So you roll d8, and there's a little table that tells you what happened in the summoning. Oh my goodness. So a 7, that says that the entity has perished. Discard the true name you're attempting to bind. If you have any remaining true names, you may attempt another binding. All right, so we don't lose the memories. I guess that's one benefit, but we do lose the true name that we spent all that time trying to bind onto our weapon. We are hoping for a change of fortune. Let's leave it there for the moment, and perhaps come back for part 3 to see if Vulcan can make it through to the end. He's had a very good start and a very, very bad middle act. All right, till next time.